Deputy Anne Rabbitte, please.
Thank you, Ciarán Comhairle. And I too want to be associated with the positive commentary that was here this evening. Chair, I absolutely compliment yourself on chairing it for the number of weeks and months that it took to take place. I also have to compliment all the committee members that really gave their heart and souls into it, along with the personnel that came before us week in, week out. And in some days we had double and triple sessions because we wanted to get in so many people. But a huge amount of work also has to be acknowledged for the clerk of the committee and her team, because it was a phenomenal amount of gathering of information to compile such a comprehensive report. And it really is a comprehensive report. And out of the recommendations, I think you can see that we delved into many a sphere within it. Like we looked into family, we looked into education, we looked into physical activity, we looked into public health, we looked into communication and advertising. To me, it wasn't just a one blinkered approach we took. We took a real helicopter view on this particular report. And I suppose there were certain aspects that stood out to myself on it. And one of them is, which Deputy O'Loughlin is after referring to, and Deputy Mitchell has, and I think yourself, Chair, was in relation to the vending machines. And really, when you hear that the vending machines vending machines made up for an income stream for schools, I was actually astounded. I could not believe that it was part of the income stream, which helped plug the gaps where they couldn't afford to keep basic functions going. And that's actually what was said before us. But what I found interesting in the presentation then from the Department of Education, and it is noted within the report on page 38, that the position of the Department of Education and Skills is that it does not intend to instruct schools to end the practice of having no vending machines. As I mentioned in my opening statement, the Department has issued healthy lifestyle guidances to schools. Part of that is about schools having a healthy eating policy and looking after the well-being of schools to students. So as a school having a vending machine needs to balance that. Balance that with what? It made no sense whatsoever. So there's no money message on this or anything else like that from this side of the House. So when I make a request to the Department, I would like to be saying to the Department, could you please issue a circular to say we're going to ban vending machines? And I think that would be one positive step straight away that could actually be done with no cost to the Exchequer whatsoever, but a huge improvement for the well-being of the children in those schools. Another really important group of people or personnel that came in front of us was the home economics teachers and the people that travelled down from St Angela's in Sligo. And I really think, and it's wonderful to hear, that the Education Committee came up with exactly the same proposal, that we would ensure that we would have home economics to a minimum of junior cert cycle. And that would be absolutely so welcome. And really, when St Angela's were in front of us, they also went as far as to explain how they have gone into national schools down in Sligo and how they were able to meet the health and safety requirements and how they could roll it in a trolley and roll it out again. And they could talk about making the good smoothies, or they could talk about doing the pancakes. And they were able to tick all the boxes that would be required under health and safety and all the other criteria that would be required. But they were able to do it. St Angela's also spoke about how they went out to the community in their area and how they delivered healthy eating plans. And like when you think the wealth and knowledge that home economics teachers have and how powerful of a grouping that they really are a resource that needs to be tapped into in every community because they're in every school. But I think the real positive effect would be for young people definitely to have it as mandatory up to junior cert. I really do think, it's a wonderful skill. In relation to sports and physical activities, which was in recommendation 5, 6 and 7, without repeating it again, we all know that there's a certain amount of schools out there that doesn't tick those boxes. But there's a certain amount that we can do within our local government, within planning, when we talk about hitting the boxes regarding physical activity. So could I make a suggestion, and it was done at committee, that when the TII are upgrading roads in communities, particularly along national roads, and I quoted the N63 down in Galway, where they were doing about 3 kilometres of a road, as to why in the name of God they couldn't light it. They put in the path, but they left out the lighting. So there is a classic example that when we're going to roll out infrastructure, critical infrastructure, that's going to be there for a long number of years, can we roll it out in such a way that it's holistic, that everybody can use it day or night, and it's open to all, and it's a safe access? I think that is one of the things that needs to happen, because unless we start looking at tackling obesity in the whole, and departments stop operating in silos, we're not going to deal with certain aspects, because we won't have the funding to go all the way around to put in a hall in every small village. But guess what? Below in Abbeynockmoy, they were giving their road. If they got their lighting, they would have been able to go from one area to another area, and it's about a 5-kilometre walk. Children could cycle on it, children can walk on it, older persons, persons with disabilities, all can be out and about. Can't be done as soon as the lights goes off in the evening. And that is a whole of government, but it's all a whole of community approach to how we tackle obesity. One of the banes to me was in relation to advertising, of which I suppose I'm very much on the record of the big movie. And when you talked earlier on, Minister, you talk about hitting the fats, the sugars and the soft drinks and the target audience. At 6 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday evening is a target audience when families sit down together. And it is actually prime advertising for a fast food outlet to advertise and target market young children who are watching whatever is the latest movie that's released. That is wrong. Hence the reason I will be bringing forward in 2018 a new broadcasting bill, public health advertising bill, that is going to critically look at how target marketing of young people relating to fast food is going to be addressed. And it is coming on the back of this report as to why I've put this bill together. I think there's a critical need for it, because I think, as Deputy Mitchell has quite eloquently put, voluntary codes don't work. They are not adhering to them, no matter whatsoever. So I think as legislators now have to say, we've given you the benefit of the doubt, we've given you the opportunity, you didn't take it on board, hence we'll come down heavy and we'll bring in form of legislation to deal with it. Finally, just finishing up, one of the issues that also I would have been very much attached to, and was a conversation to quite some of the questions I would have done through the entire session, was in relation to weighing. Some of my conversations might have been taken out of context. I was looking for weighing in the whole approach. And when I talk about weighing, I was talking about measurements in relation to flexibility, mobility, weighing, that we should be gathering our data. We don't gather data. We weigh children in third class, we weigh them in the under 6. What was really amazing that came out in the Oireachtas report was we actually do gather that data in third class, but we didn't talk about it. But it is gathered. But we should be gathering it consistently, because how can we plan for the future? How can we plan in relation to health? How do we know what our needs are if we're not gathering that data? I'm not saying where to gather the data, but I'm saying we need a conversation on it. And the way it was dealt with within the report, and it's not a criticism, and I'm glad it's within the report, that the JCCYA notes that evidence presented by witnesses suggests that there are divergent views with regard to weighing children. Given the divergence of views, the JCCYA is not in a position to definitely conclude that the introduction of such appropriate practice is warranted. On this basis, the JCCYA suggests that the government should actively explore the means by which data could be collected in this regard, while ensuring that best practice based on clinical advice is taken into account. I think that sums it up pretty well. I think that leaves the conversation open. I think that means there's the capacity and the scope to go further to discuss it. I am very happy with the report. I think it was very fruitful. I think it was a very worthwhile exercise. I too would like to see it actioned and implemented, not left sitting on a shelf. Thank you, Conor.